Welcome to the Wrestling Informer, show number 8. I'm Cab Manning. I'm from the Lingus Mafia podcast. If you want to win wrestling merchandise, signed, all kinds of nonsense, go to my Twitter and check the pinned tweet. That is at Lingus Mafia on Twitter. Hogan and Andre signed 8x10 that Billy is drooling over. You know, Hitman stuff signed, Ric Flair boot signed, all that good stuff. Go check it out at Lingus Mafia. That is Mr. Billy Body, who is your leader and number one source in all of your wrestling insider news. We like to play a game on this video where we say, how many times does Billy adjust his modeling hairdo?
I do it more. I'm just doing it on purpose. I wasn't even wearing this hat for Conan's show. I just like to wear it more now.
You can find him at Billy K100, BILLIK100. And also, he has a gambling site, and that's at lockbetting.com. And that's where you could bet on real sports, and you could actually bet on Survivor Series stuff, depending where you are in the world. In England, you could bet on it.
Because people like go, oh, you're an enabler and you steal people's money. I have a tipping site with 101 months of profit. I don't take the bets. I'll tell you what you need to do with your money, and there's a track record of profit across 101 spreadsheets. Like, I haven't lost a month in sports betting for 8 years and 5 months. So it's all
that's a roll. I'm dressed for the occasion because this week Ghostbusters comes out, Billy. So
I've already seen it.
I can't believe you've seen it. I'm jealous. This is the only time I'm jealous.
Let me talk about that for a second.
Don't spoil anything, of course, but yeah, go ahead.
I won't spoil anything. I would like to spoil stuff for certain people. But
I'm gonna catch the shrapnel because I want to see the damn movie. I'm going on Saturday.
I won't do it to you. But what I will say is that this is a franchise that was bought out in the 80s, right? So the way they had one bad movie that they bought out where they tried to reboot it. But this particular one was done perfectly, I'll say that. And the way that they utilized and blended together the old characters and the new characters, that's something that wrestling has failed to do so many times. How many Legends Nights have we seen that don't do it? This was tear-jerkingly good. Tear-jerkingly well done. And this is something that wrestling fails at every single time. I mean, even AEW, I don't think the legend utilization is great. Like, they seem to get a pass for everything. And this is the thing, like, when you're looking at someone like AEW and they say, oh, we do this better than WWE and we do this better than WWE. WWE are like, oh, we do this better than AEW. Like, we're a bigger brand and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
The competition is out there with everything else. You're competing with everything on cinema and all streaming networks and all live sports and everything. There's so much there to watch. I've got a son who I get annoyed with him because he's just watching all of this YouTube content all the time. And I even said to him, like, just why don't you just watch why don't you get into a TV show? Why don't you start something else? Like, you like Cobra Kai, which is brilliant. Why don't you start something else? But they won't. They're consuming and digesting quicker and more accessible and shorter content all the time, says the guy on the 40-minute YouTube. But our videos actually all do well when this is all chopped up, because that's how people digest everything. Longer and more boring is not, and less effort is not the way to go. You need to think about every single minute of content that you put on. Like, when you look at the storytelling that we saw on this Ghostbusters film, which is great, everybody should see it. And the storytelling we see on Cobra Kai, the way that they, and you know I could talk about this for hours. I'm not going to, because I want to get off it quickly. But the way that they bring back the characters from the past and utilize them with the future and make them main characters and get those new characters over so you care about everybody equally. And then there's a story at the start, then there's a big story, there's a small story, and everybody has a story, from a character in the Cobra Kai called Tori, who's not a main character, but she's got a big story and a big character in there, from Sensei Kreese, who's like the old man teacher that went up against Mr. Miyagi, the head of Cobra Kai. Like, he has his own story and he has his own origin story. They put an origin story in season 3. Everything is perfectly written with arcs and everything for everybody. This is the competition. This is the competition. It's Breaking Bad. It's Cobra Kai. It's live sport. It's a game that has 70 points on the NFL, or a game that has 40 points in the NFL. But that's the thing. Like NFL and these sports are not going to suffer if they're not exciting games or boring games, because this is live content. It's going to be unpredictable anyway. It's not sold on the score lines or the personalities or anything like that. But other content is. And WWE is this like hybrid where it's forgiven a little bit because it does fall into the sports category. So you're not having to do ridiculous attitude era, unpredictable on a week-to-week basis, because that wouldn't even work anymore anyway. Where it's been done where you sort of blew your load, and now you have to kind of like rebuild your audience, but they're not rebuilding their audience. They're losing their audience. Like Raw this week was 1.58. And that's because it's just match that doesn't mean anything. I don't understand what you think you're going up against. What fan base are you trying to hold here? Because it's just going to be the same people. It's just squeezing the. Sorry, I'm not supposed to swear this week. But it's just squeezing the fruit out of this one piece of fruit. That's what it is. It's this hardcore fan base on both. WWE's is bigger. But I'm almost at the point where I think like WWE has a lot of people who DVR'd Raw their whole lives and just haven't decided to change it. God forbid they ever change the time or the day, because then we really might see where this product is at. But it's just amazing to me, like how much I enjoy watching other things for 2 hours or 3 hours, and how much fun it can be, and how much it can really like draw you in. And how much I suffer through theirs. Do you know that Seinfeld is on Netflix, and I've watched every episode of Seinfeld, and I dipped in and out. I took episode breaks of Seinfeld. I did 1 hour of Raw, 2 episodes of Seinfeld, 1 hour of Raw, and 2 episodes of Seinfeld. That's how I had to watch it. Why am I suffering for this show? Is a casual fan who doesn't have to do a YouTube channel and a podcast and make money from wrestling, is he going to make himself suffer? How many people are going to turn around and say, I have to watch it, I must get through Raw? Cav, this is a dying audience. Like the numbers may be great financially, but and in terms of like stock prices and sponsorship deals and everything else that they're doing, right? And I'm sure like this next video game they're going to bring out is going to be successful. But at the end of the day, people need to watch your show. You can't continue to turn off viewers like this and not change anything. And you can't continue to think that your competition is just other wrestling companies. I mean, I know they themselves turn around and say, we are entertainment. AEW isn't our competition. Well, if you're entertainment, you're a really, really bad form of entertainment in comparison to what everything else is out there. I mean, it just hit me over the head. Like, I knew it all along anyway. But like when you're sitting there, and my first comparison was, Jesus, look how they used the old Ghostbusters and put them together with the new kids and everything. And it's like immediately you accept it. It's like if the next Ghostbusters film comes out and the guys from the old film, like Bill Murray and whatever, they're not in it, or they have 5-10 minute roles again where they're like advisors, or they do a cameo, like a phone call or whatever. I'm completely accepting of that, because of the way that they put over the new characters. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally does. You get in the rub and bring them in, which is what I thought they were going to do in the girl Ghostbusters one, is like they were going to train them. And then we saw what a disaster that was. So getting into this, you have an exclusive that is actually on the Conan show that we are not allowed, flat out, no BS to you guys. We are not allowed to talk about it on the YouTube. Instructions were said to us. We can't talk about it on YouTube, but you did talk about it on Conan's show, which will be out this week. Is this the show that's going to be on?
It is. And a little tease involves this little injection right here.
That is actually something that was sent to you from somewhere. Can we say where it was from, or not even that?
Yeah. You can tell me. You can say that.
Yeah, you got this. This is from a source of yours at WWE, And this is something that the people at WWE have to use and do. We can't even.
They don't have to use. It's there to, if anybody's concerned about reactions to something that people are taking in the world right now that we're not allowed to talk about. It's something that you need to take to get to travel and sometimes in some cases to keep your job. There are things that WWE are doing to prevent side effects.
Okay, yeah, that's all we need to say then. So check out the Conan show, of course, keeping it 100, and you will hear that exclusive story. Let's start out with something that you had sent me on text message. There's this rift, obviously, that everybody that I'm sure that's watching this, they've all been all over the internet about the Charlotte problems or hard to work with, things like this, which is one of the only things, like you had said, this is what you're looking forward to at Survivor Series, and it's about the only thing. That's saying something for you because you can't stand the women matches, where I actually enjoy a women's match. I got no problem to watch it. I can't watch women's basketball. I can watch women's tennis. It's totally different. I don't know. So let's Charlotte
remember, I got a text from one of our sources, if you recall, right?
Yeah.
And it said how they feel about Charlotte and what her attitude is and whatnot. Now, remember, I read that out 3 weeks ago, and there were a lot of comments on this channel which were like, he's just making it up. That's not really a text from anybody. Blah, blah, blah.
Really? They said that's not a really text?
Okay. Let's have a look what Charlotte said this week, and then we'll reread the text and see how how unbelievably predicted and faked a text from someone at WWE and somehow predicted what Charlotte was going to say in an interview this week. So you can see that?
Yeah.
Good enough.
How are you keeping yourself motivated?
Because I didn't come this far to come this far. There's a reason I've been on top since 2015. It wasn't handed to me. It wasn't given to me. It just didn't fall into my lap. Because I'm always hungry. I'm always motivated. I always want more. I always want to be better. I always want to be the best.
Do you find that, I don't want to say rubs people the wrong way, but you're so dominant, and because you're so sitting here opposite you, you're so confident as well.
Yes, it obviously does rub people the wrong way. But if I was a man, would it rub people the wrong way? I mean, no one ever looks at a man and goes, why does he want to be the world champion again? Or he's been on top all these years. Is it because I'm a woman? Because I've done it all? Because we have a smaller division? Why? Charlotte's difficult? Why? Is it because I stand up for what I believe in? That makes me difficult? But if I was a man, I'd have big balls, right? No. I know how good I am, man or woman. I'm the best.
I love how this women's division is really changing again. Like, I really love it.
No, but really, is it because I'm a woman? That's what. So I'm just supposed to come this far and be like, all right, yep, take my spot. All these years of hard work, please, just take it. No. If you're going to take it, take it.
That's interesting. Now, you've got all that fresh in your mind. I hope you could hear it all. Cab said there was a problem with it being too loud.
It's just a little bit loud.
You can
but
hear it, right?
you could hear it. But if they turn down their volume to listen, they'll be able to hear it better, sure.
So that's what she said this week. I said on this show, 3 weeks ago, I texted to Disco, Conan, and Cav. 2 weeks ago, it was on the show. And I said, from a source at WWE, sent me this. I don't hate Charlotte at all because I see what she's trying to be. She's trying to be what Taker was a few years back. She is definitely hated by a lot of people, mostly the boys, but not really the girls. She is seen as a divisive figure in the locker room, as she's always arguing for the women separately, like it's girls versus boys. This gets her over with the girls, but hated by the boys. There have been multiple times where she's pushed and succeeded in working with lower talent. Becky is different. She's more like one of the boys, but that's not to say she falls out with a girl. She gets on with everybody. Charlotte will fight her fight and everyone else's when it comes to the women. Gee, that was almost exactly what she just said in an interview 3 weeks after what I said was thought of her by a male at WWE. I mean, I am just unbelievable at just making up shit and getting it right somehow. I'm just lucky, or I might just be the #1 source in wrestling, and it isn't all of these losers that you follow. Maybe that's what it actually is.
Yeah, fine to get the lottery numbers for me since you're making up.
I mean, I'm sorry, but like I've dealt with a lot of crap in these comments, but that has just come through as 100%. That is almost word for word an interview 3 weeks later. What is being said about her? She's not acting there either. She's not trying to like sell. I hope like the screen isn't like, no, it's not. You can't see the screen. I thought the screen is still, because the screen is showing who the text has come from.
Yeah, let me vouch for your text too, because I know you're more hated than I am on here for sure. So, and he is getting texts from a very, very big source. I can tell you that. I've seen the texts. It is a big source. So take that for what it's worth. Obviously, can't tell you who sources are, but there are people who are around it all the time.
We talked about it
backstage and all that kind of stuff.
We talked about sources, and people were like, "Oh, the content, the stories start at this minute and whatever." But it's like, look, we had the decency to talk about it. No one else is going to do that. In fact, that was a video that the Conan and Joe saw, and Conan actually had additional questions on his show, like some things he didn't know. So he had some questions, and actually had some questions from like viewers and listeners as well. So look, I think we talk too much about the morons. Every week these videos have more likes than dislikes. So
yeah, and I go, the majority of people who are watching this enjoy to hear the story, and they move on with their lives afterwards. And, you know, that's fine. Nobody needs to comment if they, oh, I love it. I need to comment. You watch it and move on with your life and enjoy the content. Who cares? But so go ahead.
One thing I want to say, like before we move off that, because that's just me obviously letting you know that everything was correct, and that you know, maybe you can calm it down with the nonsense comments now, but they won't, because they just like to troll. But yeah, the situation, the real story is the situation with Charlotte and Becky is real, and now people will go, oh, this mark's been worked in this, they're working this mark, and what? No, this is going to sell out at the curtain. This is a sellout at the curtain. The guys want to see this. Nobody knows who's going over. The two girls don't want to lose to each other. They're making comments that they have no permission to make. Becky's gone on to Ariel Helwani this week and buried Ric Flair. There's no way there was a conversation between Charlotte and Becky where Charlotte okayed that Becky to go on Ariel Helwani and say, bury my dad, to the point where she said, Rick's so irrelevant now, he's using me to stay relevant because of what's happened to his career. Right? Yeah. So it's just not going to happen. These girls hate each other. Everybody knows they hate each other. Like, it's gone to a serious point. They're making comments in these interviews that they're not supposed to make. That isn't Charlotte acting. She's not a good enough actor. Like, we've seen her wrestle for the last 9 years. Like, also, she's not that a good enough actress to pull out, right? She was legit. I mean, the guy got off the question, and she asked a different question. She went, no, seriously, tell me. Is it because I'm a woman? Like, come on, she's got to stick up her ass, is she not?
My favorite is that she says she has balls, which proves my point, Billy. I know you're a big fan of how she looks.
Why is she so obsessed with it? I think come this far thing. She says that she had said that on TV once as well. Like,
you know,
patent or something.
Well, she's got a real hard on for saying I wasn't given this, like, because I'm sure that's something that everyone who has something to stick at her uses. The only reason you're here, or only reason you've won all this stuff, is because of your name and this and that, which there is a little credit to that. But it's not like she's some bad worker or she's, terrible in the ring, anything like that. She is good at what she does, that name on top of being good skyrockets her. So they're trying to do the whole, your father won this many titles, now let's make you win this many titles. But it is not like she does not know how to wrestle and can't get around in the ring. It's just a combination, but she can't handle hearing any part of this name helps you.
That's the part of it, though. Like, I mean, when you do the storyline to give her all the titles and whatnot, you do it because she's good. Like the first one, you go with her and you go, oh, it'd be great to make Charlotte Flair the champion one time or whatever, and you do it. But if it fails, it fails. If she can't work, you don't keep doing it. Yeah. I mean, look at Natty. Like Natty was there before Charlotte, and they didn't strap a rocket to her. Like no. She came in with like real strong wrestling ability, and obviously right time, right place where you put the women and whatever. And the Flair is a bigger name. But if she can't go, if she can't wrestle and she can't have like decent matches and whatnot, and can't talk and whatever, then she's not getting all of these runs and main events and being focused on as much as she is. All right. There's no doubt she got the job because of her dad, but so did Randy Orton. But no one says that about him, right? Randy Orton is he's legitimately good.
I don't know if it's because Flair's like, top 3 ever in the world, that helps because Bob Orton wasn't. He was fine, but he wasn't that,
How many titles has Brooke Hogan won?
And Brooke Hogan did try out. Remember that. She did try to get in.
What about Noel Foley?
She tried too, didn't she? She was in there too, and it was a disaster. So let's move on.
They got the Rock Store, I think, as well.
She's there now, so we'll see how that one goes. Give me something about Kevin Owens and his contract.
Yeah, Kevin Owens is out of contract one day before the next pay-per-view, day one. So the simple situation is the WWE need to decide if they want to blow this off while he's under contract or negotiate one extra night for Kevin Owens. If Kevin Owens wants to keep the door open to a WWE return, which a lot of people do, I can see Daniel Bryan going back there to finish his career, to be honest, because, I mean, he's said nothing but good things about him.
Yeah.
He left on good terms. So if Owen wants to keep that door open, this could be something where where he does a handshake deal and says, I'll just do tonight, which is probably what would happen, unless they just don't want to go through with that at all, unless they want a different match on this show and they want to just do this title match for a Raw rating. But they are going to do a title match because that's why Owens got the win over Balor this week. The last time WWE did a handshake deal and had someone under contract was when Dolph Ziggler won the Intercontinental title from Miz in 2016. And that relationship was so solid that Ziggler won and lost the Intercontinental title out of contract.
You say that the pay-per-view is called Day One?
Day One, it's on day one of the year, yeah.
Oh, so this is the start of January. That's when this thing is.
Yeah, Day One, 2022, like about 3 weeks before the Rumble.
Why would they
it's the Day One pay-per-view. It's from Atlanta, and it's I don't know when exactly it is before the Royal Rumble. I think 3 weeks before the Rumble. Let me add him back.
It's a guarantee that this thing will go out I hate StreamYard, just for everybody watching. StreamYard blows. Why would they have a pay-per-view 2 in the same month? Why do they do this? I go crazy.
Because there's no TLC. So instead of doing that one at the end of the year, it's seen as that. I mean, it won't have any impact on the Rumble. Will still be a stronger card. This is kind of just going to be the weird number one contenders that they've established now. Like I would imagine Liv Morgan and maybe Owens, maybe Seth. Seth's supposed to get a title match too, so maybe Seth's the Rumble guy, and Big E and Owens is the Day One guy. I'm not too sure, but they have weirdly established number one contenders at the moment. But Owens, I think, would be happy to do that handshake deal, and he would stay and do that one day. It's just a case of whether they'll blow it off quickly. And with that rating at the moment, that 1.58, you may do a title match. But, I mean, what difference is it going to make? This show doesn't need more matches or higher stakes on the matches. It needs less wrestling on the wrestling show. It needs less wrestling on the wrestling show.
We're going to talk more in depth, obviously, about Survivor Series on the Dirty Sheets feed on iTunes, Stitcher, wherever you get your stuff. Check out the Dirty Sheets feed. But a quick note about Survivor Series, like all this lead up stuff on Raw and everything, it is such a mess because they are doing double storylines at the same time for each person. Like they have their normal Raw storyline with everybody, and then they switch over to, I have to fight the guy from SmackDown. Like Big E's yelling at, about Roman over there. As Billy's TV goes on. He's yelling about Roman over there, but then switching right back into, Owens. So I'm like, too many things going on at once. The company is, it bothers me at this point. And what's sad is that I look forward to AEW stuff, Billy. I never thought I would. And I'm like, the pay-per-view comes on, and I actually am excited to see it because it's not every month. They have a build. There's something to look forward to, a miracle, something to look forward to. And
we'll get your thoughts on the pay. We'll talk about a pay-per-view at the end because I want to talk about AEW at the end, and I want to quickly preview Survivor Series. There's a main preview on the Dirty Sheets, which is also going to go over the betting lines as well. So we're going to do the betting lines and a full preview of the build and everything, and talk about Survivor Series a lot more. So we're going to gloss over at the end, and we're also going to save some time for AEW. So in order to do that, we better get through the next bunch of stories real quick.
Yeah. So what do you got on Riddle?
This is very interesting to me on Matt Riddle. So at the WWE house shows, they sell 12x8 photos. They've done this since John Cena was the champion. Do you know the percentage of people that have had these signed? I'm on about. They're promo photos and they're signed.
Sure.
And they range between $20 to $25. Do you know the percentage of people who had these photos that have become champion? Or were champion?
No.
100%.
No kidding. Whoever's had these promo signed things. Wow. 100% have become champion.
100%. And Matt Riddle has them now. He has his own one. They're not factored into RK Bro, but RK Bro stuff was doing really, really well. I saw RK Bro doing really well at a house show I recently went to at Wembley in London. I know RK Bro was in the top 5 sellers for the current merchandise sales. By the way, not on topic with this particular topic, but Roman Reigns was so far out ahead that no one had seen anything like that since Cena was at his peak. He's selling promo photos, he's selling T-shirts. He is above and beyond the untouchable person at the moment, and they'll continue to focus him heavily on TV for a long time, especially with what he's doing merchandise-wise. So these merchandise sales are important because merchandise sales is why you see Nikki Ash and Bianca Belair drop down the card. Another story you had here. You seem to very much forget things that you were told when I turn around and say, these people, when I talked about merchandise a while ago, they haven't done well. They are going to be dropping down the card, and they are now dropping down the card. Look where they are. Nikki Ash isn't even at the Survivor Series. She had loads of stuff made. It sold poorly, very, very poorly. And as a consequence of that, you're not going to be pushed if you can't sell merchandise and you can't make people money, because it's a reflection of how popular you are. I mean, it's the same thing for Bianca. It's the same thing for what we see with the Street Profits. This stuff's important. For Matt Riddle to have this. Now, the reason why this usually means that you're going to be pushed and be a champion, look, it's 100% at the moment. I'm not saying he's going to be the WWE champion. I'm saying what is a fact, because I state fact. 100% of people who have had this have been champion. And I can name most of them. You can look at Sheamus, CM Punk, John Cena, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose. And these are all the ones that my son has. I mean, I've seen others that we didn't buy. They've all become champions, right?
So maybe this is the streak that breaks. Maybe it's not Riddle, but the track record is everybody who's had this has become champion.
I don't think so. Because here's the thing. There's a higher commission payout on these because it involves the talent signing every single one. So it increases your commission from 8 to 25%. In addition to that, the cost of production is about 20 cents for a $25 sale. which is, I don't even know what percentage markup that is. I'm not that good enough at maths to tell you if something costs 25 cents and you sell it for $25, what the markup is. But I mean, if I was to guess, I mean, that's what, 10,000% maybe. So yeah, I mean, if you're having a 10% markup on a product, you can afford to give your talent a 25%. And getting to my point, I don't think they would do this if A, they didn't think it would sell, and B, they didn't think the talent was worthy of making this extra commission, because it's only been afforded to the Bryans, Punks, Ortons, Cena's, Sheamus's, Roman Reigns, all the Shield guys, Becky Lynch's. These are the people that get it. To see Matt Riddle there alongside Big E, when the show that I went to was just Riddle and Big E. I know at other shows the Roman Reigns pictures sell, and there was a story before where I said it was the old Roman pictures, and there was previously a couple of years ago a Bray Wyatt holiday card, a Bray Wyatt Christmas card that was signed as well. That was sold as well. That did really well. But yeah, this is guaranteed to do well. People want to buy autograph pictures, and you're not really afforded this kind of like luxury unless they have plans for you, they're pleased for you and whatnot. So as I said, 100% of the talents that have had this given to them so far have all become a future champion on Raw or SmackDown. So
maybe we will see in the future with Riddle. What's going on with the crowd noise?
This is just all of my Raw notes, so we'll cover it collectively this week.
Okay.
First of all, WWE gave huge praise to everybody that was involved in that 6-man tag team match this week. They time out the shows every week, which they do. This has to finish here. We want to be on this by this point. So as a rough guideline, they wanted this match to finish at 35 minutes. It finished at 35 minutes and 0 seconds.
Wow.
Was the finish of the 6-man tag team match this week on Raw. So that was worth putting into my notes. One more thing is on both Raw and SmackDown, the WWE are still piping in crowd noises to establish heels and faces as they want, especially since the draft where they are trying to reestablish people. So if you thought Tamina was a face when she was with Natalya, or if you think you're not sure if Doudrop's a babyface or a heel now, or whoever, they're going to let you know with the crowd noises. So they are still using assisted crowd noises through their Thunderdome technology that they install now and they carry around with them.
It's just so lame. It's so lame because this is what makes a star. The crowd makes the star. They decide who to cheer for. And they're like, no, we're piping this in. You imagine if this was around during the Austin time when they weren't high on him and they just didn't, like Vince didn't get it, as he would always say. And they just, no, we're booing. We don't care. They've become a machine a bit too much. I mean, I know they're a moneymaker and that's what they do, but it's become a machine.
I would have gone for the guy who liked the look of. They would have went, no, we're not going with Austin. We're going with Billy Gunn. Billy Gunn's the guy that looks the part.
Do you know how old Billy Gunn is? I heard today.
56.
It's like 58.
Yeah, I mean, Russo talked about this recently.
That's insane.
Because he's just a bit younger than Russo, yeah.
Wow. I thought 52. That was my guess. And I was like, wow, okay. So is that all you have for the Raw notes and for your news, and we can get into other stuff?
Yeah, let's talk about why you liked AEW. And look, I didn't hate the pay-per-view, but I have like a major criticism.
Sure. Nothing's ever perfect, but I was telling Billy today, I said, I love the pay-per-view. I really did. It's the looking forward to something again, because before it was always, I look forward to Monday night. I get to watch Raw. Oh, Raw's on tonight. I'm going to have a good meal or something. You're going to sit down. You like to eat a little bit. You have something, right? Or pay-per-view. It was always, you would text your friend, what are you having tonight to eat for pay-per-view? You would sit there and make a time out of it. Now with WWE pay-per-views, some Survivor Series coming up, I'm like, whatever. I'll watch it, of course. I watch them all. I'll sit there and watch it. I have zero excitement for it. If you pressed me and said, name the matches in Survivor Series, I don't know really how many I could tell you. So AEW, it's obviously a new brand, somewhat. So I've started watching it more because I'm a hungry person. I'm a hungry man because my wrestling organization that I loved and grew up with, WWE, is starving me. I'm not getting anything here from them. So when a starving man gets a cracker, it's the most delicious cracker that there's ever been. You're starving. So I don't know if that's a part of it, but obviously that first match with MJF and Darby Allin was, as Billy's favorite would say, 5 stars, right, Billy? It was a great, great match. There's certain guys on AEW that you stop what you're doing to watch. With Caster, when he raps, I stop to watch. When MJF is talking in the ring, I stop to watch. Kingston, Punk, I stop. I want to see what's going on. So, and having a pay-per-view not every month is a major, major plus in getting someone into it. I have time for a storyline to develop. I can wait. I can see weeks, 2 months in advance, something building up, and now we're going to finally explode and have a match. And you're saying, these matches are long, and I get that. I have actually the times written down for all of them, so I could tell you that. But a pay-per-view for me is just the matches now. Everything we've gotten from before was all that build-up. Now it's time to have an actual good match. So this is when I'm watching for good, like when WrestleMania comes around. All those matches are longer. They're higher quality matches. They put more into it. And I feel when AEW does a pay-per-view, that's their good matches. They're all out into it, and so to speak, all out. But they're putting everything into their match. And they are going to be a longer match. We're not going to get, promos or whatever. That's what the pay-per-view to me is. It's matches. But everything else beforehand is the build-up.
Right. I don't disagree with you.
Okay.
I think like making the pay-per-views staggered and only having 4 a year obviously makes it more important. That's why we all look forward to the Royal Rumble, WrestleMania Survivor Series, SummerSlam when we were growing up. And even in your house is like, I didn't mind them when they were like kept shorter as like a sort of a breakup point. It was when they went to 3 hours and there was loads of filler on them. That's the first time I think pay-per-view was watered down.
And NXT's in that realm too, because they were 2 hours, and it was like, and they were always good. And I think it's because of that time constraint of being a bit shorter of the pay-per-view. That
here's my point. Just because you only have 4 pay-per-views a year doesn't mean you need to make them excessively long, because at the end of the day, there's only a certain amount of time that people want to sit down and consume something. Just because there was only a Star Wars movie every 4 or 5 years didn't mean it needed to be 5 hours, right?
Yes.
It's still a length of time that people want to invest. And also, when you're not differentiating anything, that also takes away from it as well. MJF and Darby Allin started off with a great match, right? But I knew it was a sign of what was to come when you look up and down the card, because then you have the FTR versus the Luchas, right? It's still a good match, but you care less because you just saw a great match anyway. And it's still the same thing. 1, 2, was that 3? No, he kicked out on 2.9.5. Like, it's like, it's the same thing again.
And I'm bothered by those kind of matches. What you can see a lot of in that FTR is finishers that aren't finishers. They practically kill somebody and they kick out. And it's like, well, how do you pin this person then? You tell me a spike pile driver isn't supposed to kill somebody? But now we see it. It's like a super kick. It's normal move now. It's like DDT. It's a normal move. That's not a finisher.
You're almost hurting yourself with the effort that everybody's putting, because everybody wants to go out there, and the whole ethos is go out there and kill it. You've all got time to tell your story. And I get that, right? Because you signed all these indie workers and whatnot. But you've got to think, like, it's not about appeasing them. And it really shouldn't be about appeasing the people in the crowd either, because there's a bigger fan base at home, and it may be casual people that you're trying to attract. And even this whole thing of like casual and hardcore is there's in-betweens, because I'm not a casual, because otherwise I wouldn't be hosting a wrestling YouTube or a wrestling podcast. But I'm also not somebody that wants to see 20-minute match after 20-minute match after 20-minute match because the matches lose their meaning. It doesn't matter how much you love wrestling. Every match that's as long as the last one is damaging. MJF and Darby Allin becomes less important when the Super Clique go out there and try and kill themselves against the Dinosaur Factory or whatever, right? It takes away from MJF's effort. Like, you're forgetting more and more as the show goes on what MJF and that did. CM Punk and Kingston did a very different match to everybody else and tried to tell a different story. They got it, right?
Yeah.
This is where no matter what you think about Punk's return, him and Kingston understood how to stand out and actually not take up as much time on the show and to tell their story quicker and in a different way where they did a different start, they had a different finish, they had blood, whatever, right? And then obviously you have the title change at the end. By the end, you don't care about the title change, like to some extent, because you're so exhausted by what you did. This is why you need squash matches and other things on the show. Like, somebody needed to take the bullet and get beaten in 4 or 5 minutes on that show, whether it be Britt Baker winning in 4 or 5 minutes, because the women don't need the 20 minutes as well. And I understand if they didn't get it, all these marks would complain and go, oh, they don't care about women's wrestling. The women got 4 minutes and all the men got 20. So you can't do it there. It's become too political to do it there, right? So somebody else has got to take the bullet. Now, this is the thing. NXT stumbled on the perfect pay-per-view formula to do unbelievable matches. They always had 4 or 5, say they had 5 matches, 3 of them would be unbelievable and 2 of them would be good, right?
Yeah.
But you could go, oh my God, that was great. And oh my God, that was great. And oh my God, that was fantastic. But you were done in 2.5 hours. You're like, oh, that was an unbelievable show. I'm going to watch something else now. Like 2.5 hours of unbelievable wrestling, right? But that is the point where you're done. This you can't watch 4 hours of unbelievable wrestling. I don't care what it is. WrestleMania 17 is the greatest card of all time, but it was broken up with all kinds of different stuff that wasn't all good matches. Trust me, the Gimmick Battle Royal isn't a great match.
Didn't Russo write that whole WrestleMania?
He was gone by then. He was gone 2 years before that. He's your boyfriend. You should know that.
I was just trying to give you something. Go ahead.
Oh, he didn't. He wasn't involved at all. He'd already put WCW out of business by then. So yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Watch that show. Like, there's, I believe, who's Angle and Benoit's good, but there's a hardcore match like before that. The show starts really slow. None of the 3 matches are good at the start. The Battle Royal breaks up the TLC before you get to Undertaker, Triple H, and Austin and Rock. It's layered to give you a break. Like, you need a break. Like, just because that show had better matches, had more better matches than WrestleMania did, doesn't mean that it's better than WrestleMania 17. WrestleMania 17 is still better because it knew, because obviously it's higher stakes because these are proper superstars at WrestleMania 17, right? But at the same time, it knew how to hold your attention and how to bring you up and calm you down and bring you up and calm you down. And that's important because nobody can stay here and nobody will. And that is why that pay-per-view for me didn't succeed at what it was trying to do.
So where would you grade it? What grade?
Well,
it's got at least a B, no?
AB system, percentage system.
Yeah. A, B, C, D, F.
I can't give it as high as a B. I'd probably go. I can't go as low as a C though either. I'd probably think like a B minus.
Okay, I'd accept that then. At least it's above, because I'm like, you can't say it's an average, because I'm like, I don't see. Maybe it's because we're beaten over the head from WWE, and it's like I can't remember practically anything anymore of new pay-per-views.
I went to a 4-hour WWE pay-per-view.
It's painful. 4 hours is a long time.
I went to SummerSlam 2018, which doesn't have any amazing matches on it, but it has all good matches on it pretty much. And it was I would grade that as a much better pay-per-view, just because of the way the way it was structured in with things like Braun Strowman beating Kevin Owens in like a minute, Ronda Rousey beat Alexa in like 4 or 5 minutes in a squash match. You need those different things on there. That pay-per-view, the SummerSlam 2018, I would say modern day is one of like the best booked pay-per-views. I also like the 2020 Royal Rumble. I think the WWE did a really good job with like the 2020 Royal Rumble as well. Like, so you can point to things that are very, very well done and long, because they're not just, you can't do this. Everybody gets time. Everybody can wrestle. We're going to show you that and do it on a show where this was an NXT at double the length. Nobody can withstand that. Like, no one has the mental capacity to, unless you're a loser, maybe then you can. But no, I don't think normal people can.
What's the perfect length of pay-per-view? 3 hours?
245, 240, 2.5, maybe.
I mean, it's hard now because Raws are all 3 hours. So I think they try to differentiate themselves by saying, okay, well, now pay-per-view's 4. And it's like, oh, man. And half the time it's more than 4. But, you know, you get worn out from it too much and you get beat up. Did you watch this last AEW just the other night to see the confrontation between Punk and MJF?
Yeah, but there wasn't one, was there? It was just...
No. And in my notes, I write down, I don't know how I feel about this yet. And then the more I think about it, I appreciate it because, so the people don't know, MJF is talking in the ring. Everybody's always want to see MJF and CM Punk yelling at each other because they're the best on the mic. And so Punk gets into the ring, doesn't say a word. MJF introduces himself. Punk looks at his hand, laughs, just turns around, walks away. So I'm like, okay, so here's this buildup. Here's the buildup thing again. And they gave us a little tease. They gave us a little something to know what's coming. It's wait for something. We don't need to have everything dumped on us at once like WWE likes to do. Everything is, okay, let's get rid of the storyline in 2 weeks. We're done. They have time, AEW. They have time to work on it. So I did enjoy it. And like I've said also about other stuff that goes on in there, Eddie Kingston is just fantastic. I've loved Eddie Kingston since Ring of Honor back in the day when I used to watch Ring of Honor when Tyler Black was there. And Danielson and all that kind of stuff. So,
Dynamite's not a good show. There's too much. There's that thing on there with Butcher and the Blade, the Matt Hardy's guys.
The groups make no sense at all. And I said that today on the Wrestlinga show that I do on your feed and my feed.
You damaged the new champion immediately when he comes out with a Dark Order. Like Daniel Bryan's randomly turning heel without turning heel.
Which is good that he mentioned WrestleMania. You see the heat he got for just saying WrestleMania.
Yeah.
They all crapped on him pretty good. But the weird groups like Dark Order has always bothered me because it sounds like it's supposed to be some scary, Undertaker type group, right? They're all creatures and stuff like that. And I'm like, it's like a comedy modge podge of different people that aren't some scary, like what's Colt Cabana, a comedy guy, doing in the Dark Order? It makes no sense. That the group with Orange Cassidy, that makes no sense. Who are these people that are, when it was the Little Best Friends, it's fine. These other people in there, like, who are they?
Matt Hardy's got this group.
Yeah,
it's just I can't remember what everything. I don't watch it. I don't watch it like that fanatically. In fact, like I fast forward through like certain bits of it where I just know it's going to be constant wrestling. For me, it's a 2-hour version of Raw. Raw's a 3-hour version of Raw, and this is a 2-hour version of Raw. Yeah, they tell their stories and they make the matches count. There are segments on there. The only thing they do well is that they make the matches count, right? When they get to pay. There's a segment every now and then, like on the Hangman Kenny Omega thing on the Go Home show, where he signed it in blood and whatnot. Yeah, they make things count, but they could do everything a lot quicker. They could have more of that, where they're telling more stories and having less matches and making the matches all mean more. And they could also have, not have CM Punk on every single show, because that would actually help. I mean, I know they're saving the Confrontation for Chicago next week.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. But and a lot of the stuff they do makes sense. If you're looking at the two shows and see what has more continuity and what makes more sense, yeah, it's AEW. But it's not this perfect show that you and these other people are making it out to be, because they make loads and loads of mistakes. And there's loads and loads of boring, needless parts of the show, which is not going to attract a casual viewer at all.
And at the same time, I don't say it's a perfect show. I think it's better than what we get normally on the big time people, 2 hours, much more digestible, of course. Rampage even, I think, is picking up the pace, where at first they were kind of a main event type of show. I was like, who cares about this show? And they've gotten a little bit better with things that are going on and trying to do go home shows when it's time. And that's only 1 hour, which really they jam some stuff. And it's like, you got no time for anything. So time to me is a big deal. Even saying with the pay-per-view was long and the matches seemed long. And I'm like, well, if you cut off 5 minutes of each match, and I thought they were much longer than they actually were. The times, I could tell you the times just real quick. So you tell me if you thought this is what it is. This is bell to bell. Darby Allin and MJF, 23 minutes. I thought it was longer. The FTR match, Lucha, it's only 19 minutes. Yeah, only 19. Well, we're still in the teens. We're not. So 20 minutes for that Miro Bryan. The Bucks match, where everybody was going crazy here with the knee pads and everything, which is very funny that they knee pad someone with thumbtacks to a guy with a mask on. It doesn't seem to matter. 23 minutes for that one. Your Andrade and Black against Pac and Cody with 17 minutes. You get the girls match here, the women's match, pardon me, 15 minutes. So that was short. And then you get Eddie Kingston and Punk, like we said, did it right. Eddie Kingston and Punk was 11 minutes, and it was a fight. It wasn't a match. It was a fight.
When you say like 18 minutes and whatnot, these are not short for wrestling matches. Go back and look at the times for great matches like in history and see how long they are. You'll be surprised how short they are.
Okay, I actually will. I'll actually try to find out, like Brett and Owen, stuff like that, how long that match is. Inner Circle, that whole thing was 19 minutes. That felt like forever, though. And then the main event was 25. So they did feel longer, though. They did feel longer, and I would think they could have probably cut off 5 minutes from each of the matches, and it would have done a big difference with 5 minutes off. But there were moments in the pay-per-view that I like, and I'm not expecting every single, match to be, barn burners or drive you crazy and, oh, I love this, I love this, I love this. But I do like a pay-per-view that has a build-up. And I've always said I think WWE should cut the pay-per-view out before WrestleMania. That month, there shouldn't be a pay-per-view. So you at least get a full 2 months before you get your WrestleMania match. So you could at least build up WrestleMania. But I think they're greedy, and it's, hey, we got to do a pay-per-view. We got to steal some money from people. So that's my thought.
Owen and Brett was at WrestleMania 10.
Yeah.
Was 20 minutes and 21 seconds.
They seem to be like, pay-per-views seem to be like that 20 mark. That seems to be the sweet spot, apparently. 20 minutes.
Yeah, but that's major matches in history, like big matches, like WrestleMania main events. They're about 20 minutes long. Like, you don't need to have every match be that long, which was my point. Sure. What I'll say in closing about this is that with all the talent that's available out there that WWE have released, we're looking at Bray Wyatt, the Karrion Kross, you're going to have disgruntled talent in AEW soon. People that are being utilized properly. With all the free agents out there, if the next billionaire, if a billionaire was to come into wrestling now, and he found a network and he asked for 1 hour of television, right? 1 hour of television on a major network, and focused on the storylines in that hour, and had a mix of storylines and wrestling, that would immediately be the promotion for 2021. That's the promotion that you need in 2021. The promotion that comes on a major network that has stars and does an hour of TV. And because that's part of the problem. Part of the problem why people lose interest is because I don't want to watch Rampage. Like I don't want to watch.
And there's your hour though.
wanna
But
watch
you don't feel they're packing it with what they
I
need
know,
to?
I know it's not the main hour. If Rampage was more important than Dynamite, then I'd obviously watch Rampage. But I know the 2-hour show is more important. But I'm talking about not having to have these other options, not seeing a story, not hearing about something that happened on this show or that show, and being, oh, I missed that or whatever. Because when I see these win-loss records of so-and-so being 9-1 and so-and-so being 12-1 because they won 12 matches on Dark, and I've never seen him win on Dynamite, I'm like totally like out of it. Like, and I'm not interested in seeing the Butcher and the Blades match or even what the Acclaim are doing this week. Like, I don't care. And I especially don't want to see Daniel Bryan and Evil Uno go through 2 ad breaks and whatnot. Like,
Yeah, I was making fun of that on my review today about an Evil Uno match. I can't wait to watch. Which they're a goofy group when they're supposed to be a scary group, and I still think Wyatt's going to show up to fix that group.
We are well long now, which affects our hits on this channel. So
all right, so yeah, if anybody wants to hear our preview and betting tips and everything for Survivor Series coming up, you will check this out. Go to the Dirty Sheets feed. You will just type that in for your iTunes, Stitcher, wherever you go. Type in Dirty Sheets, the Dirty Sheets, and you will see a cartoon picture of Billy's face right there. So you can come check out. There's tons of stuff on that feed. So check that out. We'll be doing your whole review and what we think is going to happen and the betting lines, which is always interesting that there's betting lines on this wrestling. My nonsense, of course, is at Lingus Mafia. If you want to get some signed merchandise for free, kind of, you got to just sign up to the Patreon, which is $5. So it's kind of for free when you're getting that kind of stuff. And Billy is at Billy K100, BILLIK100 on Twitter, and go to Lock Betting. Billy, you've been hot to the touch for 102 months in a row. 101, about to be 102. And that's where you'll get all your good betting stuff, and you'll even be on a text thread where he tells you bet in game during stuff. So, all right, Billy, is that all we got? That's all we got?
Yeah, that's everything.
Okay, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the show. We will see you next week. I'm Cap. That's Billy. Talk to you later.